My sister walked into my apartment with a rent increase letter, tripling it from $2,350 to $7,100, saying, "We're hemorrhaging opportunity cost." I pulled out the ownership documents and watched her face go white as she realized I'd owned the entire building for 3 years. Let me back up. I'm Claire Maddox, 34, and I work as a senior property archivist at the Portland Historical Society while managing Maple Glen Apartments. What my family didn't know was that my little job paid $72,000 annually. I had $85,000 in savings, and my professional network included real estate lawyers, forensic accountants, and city planning officials. Most importantly, they had no idea that 3 years ago, Grandma Edith had secretly transferred ownership of the $12 million building to me through an LLC structure so complex that even my Yale-educated lawyer sister missed it. The morning Sabrina showed up changed everything. I was reviewing maintenance schedules when I heard her designer heels clicking across the lobby's marble floor. Through my office window, I watched her stride past Mrs. Gonzalez without acknowledgement, her tailored Armani suit as sharp as her ambition. "Claire," she announced, not bothering to knock, "we need to talk." Sabrina had always been the golden child. Yale Law, partnership at Blackstone and Associates by 32, a $2.4 million brownstone in the Pearl District. Meanwhile, I had community college, a property management certificate, and what she assumed was a struggling academic's income. The comparison had never bothered me until today. She placed a manila envelope on my desk with practiced courtroom precision. "The family had a meeting last weekend about Maple Glen." "What meeting?" I set down my coffee, noting how she said, "the family," as if I wasn't part of it. "An investors' discussion. Mom, Dad, Uncle Richard, and myself. We've been reviewing the building's financials." She adjusted her Tiffany pearl necklace. "The market's hot, Claire. Properties in this neighborhood are selling for 3 times their 2018 value. We're hemorrhaging opportunity cost." I stared at her coldly. "These are people's homes, Sabrina." "It's a business asset," she tapped the envelope. "Which brings me to why I'm here. Effective next month, we're implementing market rate adjustments." My hand stayed steady as I opened the envelope, though my mind was calculating strategies. The letter was printed on Blackstone and Associates letterhead. She was using her law firm's authority to intimidate me. My eyes scanned to the numbers. $7,100. "You're tripling my rent," I said, keeping my voice level. "Your below-market arrangement was Grandma's sentimentality, but we can't run a business on emotion. Every unit priced below market is money left on the table." She actually smiled. "Don't worry. As family, you get 60 days instead of 30. "What about the other residents?" "Market adjustments across the board. Those who can afford to stay will stay. Those who can't—" She shrugged while checking her phone. "They'll find housing within their means. They'll be homeless." That's the real world, Claire. Grandma coddled you, letting you play property manager while keeping rents artificially low. She's been gone 3 years. Time to maximize the asset's potential. The vote was unanimous, she informed me. Mom, Dad, and Uncle Richard all agreed it was best for the family's financial future. They'd chosen sides without even telling me there was a meeting. "Oh, and you'll need to distribute notices to all residents by Friday. As property manager, that's still your job. For now." After she left, I sat staring at the letter that was supposed to destroy my world. But Sabrina had made a crucial mistake. She'd assumed I was the same helpless little sister she'd always known. She had no idea I'd spent 12 years building professional expertise in property law, genealogical research, and document analysis. More importantly, she didn't know about the carefully maintained relationships I'd cultivated. Margaret Foster, my real estate attorney; David Brennan, forensic accountant; Dr. Rebecca Hayes, city planning consultant; and most crucially, Howard Dade, Grandma Edith's estate lawyer, who'd been waiting 3 years for this exact moment. As a professional archivist, I understood something Sabrina's legal training had missed: the importance of reading every document completely. That building management contract she'd been operating under for 3 years. Section 15.3.2 contained an automatic termination clause for any rent increase exceeding 10% without documented owner approval. She'd just fired herself. I pulled out my phone and called Howard. She made her move. It's time. Finally, he chuckled. I was wondering when she'd trip that wire. Can you be at my office in an hour? We have some documents to review. The rain streaked Howard's office windows as he spread out papers that would reshape my family forever. At 73, he looked like any retired grandfather until he started explaining the legal masterstroke Grandma Edith had engineered. Your grandmother was brilliant, he began, pulling out a thick folder. She came to me 3 years before she died, convinced Sabrina was plotting something. Said she'd noticed her asking too many questions about property values and development potential. He slid a document across the desk. On paper, the family trust owns Maple Glen Apartments. That's what Sabrina sees, but ownership was actually transferred to Summit Ivy Holdings, LLC 3 years ago. The trust only manages the property. I stared at my name on the ownership documents. But I never signed anything like this. Page 47 of your employment contract update. Howard smiled. Edith was thorough. Every signature witnessed, notarized, every detail bulletproof. He produced a letter in Grandma's handwriting. Claire, if Howard is showing you this, Sabrina has finally shown her true colors. The building is yours, legally and completely. She can't raise rents more than 10% without owner approval, and more importantly, check Section 15.3.2 of the management agreement. Automatic termination, I breathed. Your sister just fired herself by attempting unauthorized rent increases. But there's more. Howard leaned back. Your grandmother suspected financial irregularities. I suggest you examine the building's accounts carefully. The next morning, I sat across from Linda Patterson, First National's banking manager, my stomach tightening as she scrolled through account records. The numbers on her screen told a devastating story. $127,000 in questionable withdrawals over 2 years, she said, turning the monitor toward me. These vendor payments, Mercury Maintenance, Atlas Repairs, Phoenix Construction, they all share the same Delaware registration address. I studied the transactions, each carefully crafted to look legitimate. Maintenance expenses, emergency repairs, contractor payments. But my professional training in document analysis revealed the patterns. The same round numbers, the signatures that didn't match our actual service providers, the timing that coincided with Sabrina's luxury vacation posts on social media. Where did the money go? I asked. Preliminary review shows transfers to accounts under Sabrina Maddox's name, credit card payments, vacation expenses, personal shopping. Linda printed the statements with official bank seals. I'll need to file a suspicious activity report. That afternoon, I called an emergency resident meeting. Every unit was represented. Families clutching rent increase notices, elderly residents looking terrified, young couples desperately calculating on their phones. I know you're all worried, I began, but I want you to know I'm fighting this with everything I have. More importantly, I'm working with legal counsel who believes we have strong grounds to challenge these increases. Mrs. Gonzalez, who'd lived here 22 years raising 3 kids, looked hopeful. You really think there's a chance? I think Grandma Edith was too smart to leave us unprotected, I said with growing confidence. As residents filed out, my phone rang. Sabrina. Claire, I just spoke with Apex Development. They're very interested in the building, but they need us at 50% occupancy to make their offer work. The rent increases are just phase 1. I hit record, gesturing for Mrs. Gonzalez to stay quiet. Phase 1? Once the bleeding hearts move out, we'll find code violations for the rest. Bed bugs work well. People flee fast and you can't prove where they came from. She laughed. By summer, we'll have an empty building and an 8-figure offer. And the current residents? Not our problem. You need to stop coddling them, Claire. Either you're with the family on this or you're against us. I'm trying to understand the timeline. Simple. We maximize value, sell to Apex, and move on. Daddy's already looking at retirement properties in Scottsdale with his share. Her voice hardened. And Claire, remember your below-market rent was conditional on cooperation. I'd hate to evict my own sister. After she hung up, I sat back, analyzing what I'd just recorded. Sabrina had confessed to planning fraudulent code violations, conspiracy with developers, and threatened to evict family members for not participating in her scheme. Combined with the embezzlement evidence, I had enough to end her career permanently. I called Margaret Foster, my real estate attorney. I need to schedule a meeting with the family. It's time they learned who actually owns Maple Glen. Are you ready for the nuclear option? Margaret asked. She threatened to make dozens of families homeless for profit. She stole $127,000 while Grandma was dying. She thinks she can bully me because I don't have her law degree. I looked out at the building where 3 generations of families had built their lives. I'm not just ready. I'm excited. 2 days later, Sabrina escalated exactly as I'd predicted. She arrived with 3 lawyers from her firm, announcing they were conducting emergency health inspections based on anonymous reports of pest activity. I knew this was the manufactured bedbug crisis she'd confessed to planning, but I played along. Of course, though I should mention we had our quarterly pest inspection last week, clean bill of health. Her smile faltered as her legal team spent 4 hours photographing pristine units. Mrs. Gonzalez had organized a cleaning brigade the night before. Every apartment was spotless. Every lease term followed perfectly. Nothing, one lawyer reported. These are some of the cleanest units I've inspected. Sabrina's composure cracked. You think you're clever? Fine. I'm calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're voting on immediate management changes. Looking forward to it, I replied calmly. The morning of the board meeting, my parents arrived at my door, looking like they'd come to deliver a death sentence. This has gone too far, Claire, Mom announced, pushing past me. Sabrina says you're sabotaging the sale. I'm protecting families who've lived here for decades. They're tenants, Dad interrupted, and it's time you understood the difference. They laid out the ultimatum. Support Sabrina's plan or be voted out as property manager and evicted from my apartment. When I mentioned Sabrina's embezzlement, Mom actually laughed. Sabrina makes more in a month than you make in a year. Why would she need to steal? You're pathetic, she continued, contempt dripping from her voice, making up lies because you're jealous of your successful sister. After they left, I called Howard. Change of plans. Can you arrange for some official witnesses to be present? Howard walked into the community room, followed by a court reporter and 3 officials carrying briefcases, representatives from the State Attorney's Office, Department of Consumer Protection, and Real Estate Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, Howard announced to the packed room, I'm attorney for the true owner of Maple Glen Apartments. Despite what you've been told, your homes are safe. The door burst open. Sabrina stood there, face flushed with anger, our parents and Uncle Richard behind her. What is this? The board meeting is in my office. The board meeting is wherever the owner decides to hold it, Howard replied calmly, and the owner chose the community room. I'm the managing partner of the family trust. I decide. You're the former managing partner, I said, standing up. As of yesterday, when you attempted rent increases exceeding 10% without owner approval, triggering automatic termination under Section 15.3.2. Sabrina's face went white. The family trust owns this building. No, I pulled out the ownership documents. I do. Summit Ivy Holdings, LLC, sole proprietor Claire Elizabeth Maddox. I have for 3 years. The room erupted. My parents stared in shock. Sabrina looked like she'd been punched. But that's not the only reason we're here, Howard continued. The state attorney representative stepped forward. Ms. Sabrina Maddox, we've received credible evidence of embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. You'll need to come with us for questioning. This is ridiculous. Sabrina backed toward the door. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Her admitting to planning fake bedbug infestations, her conspiracy with Apex Development, her callous dismissal of residents as not our problem. The room listened in horrified silence as Sabrina's own words condemned her. Mrs. Gonzalez stood up with folders of financial evidence showing $127,000 in fraudulent withdrawals, shell companies, and forged signatures, all while Grandma Edith was dying. As officials moved towards Sabrina, she looked desperately at our parents. "Mom, Dad, tell them this is a mistake." But they were staring at the evidence, finally understanding their golden child was exactly what I'd tried to tell them, a thief and a fraud. "You ruined everything," Sabrina said as they led her away. "No," I replied quietly. "You ruined everything the day you decided money mattered more than people. I just made sure you couldn't hurt anyone else." Howard waited until the room settled. As the owner's attorney, I'm authorized to announce that all rent increases are rescinded. Rents will remain at current levels with standard cost of living adjustments only. The cheer could probably be heard 3 blocks away. 6 months later, Sabrina was sentenced to 8 years in prison for embezzlement, fraud, and elder abuse. Her law license was permanently revoked. The judge specifically noted her complete lack of remorse and pattern of exploiting vulnerable residents for personal gain. My parents, their retirement dreams funded by Sabrina's schemes now crumbling, slowly began rebuilding their relationship with me. Mom started volunteering at a homeless shelter, finally understanding what Grandma meant about community responsibility. I used the recovered stolen funds to establish the Edith Maddox Community Trust, ensuring Maple Glen would remain affordable housing forever. No future developer could swoop in with demolition plans. At the trust dedication ceremony, Mrs. Gonzalez raised her coffee mug. To Edith Maddox, who saw the future and protected us all. To Claire, Mr. Petrov added, who had the courage to do what was right. "It didn't cost me everything," I said, looking around at their faces. "It showed me what I really had, a family that isn't about blood but about people who stand together." As residents returned to their secure, affordable apartments, I passed the plaque we'd installed. Maple Glen Apartments, established 1976 by Edith Maddox, preserved in perpetuity for the community. Sabrina had tried to triple my rent and destroy dozens of families for profit. She'd assumed her law degree made her untouchable, and my little job made me helpless. She'd smugly calculated opportunity costs while planning to manufacture fake emergencies. But Grandma had taught me that in the end, the house doesn't always win. Sometimes the home does. And that's not just victory. That's a legacy worth preserving forever.